everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight to the the launch of 2015 Go Caribbean Trade and Investment Expo. When we think about the Caribbean, we do a lot of times think about sand, sea, and beaches, and we all love that. We are hoping that through these dialogues over the next 2 days, as it were, the next day, as it were, but also over the next 365 days that leads up to the next event, that we will really start seeing the Caribbean as a place where there are opportunities for trading and for investing in key sectors like business process outsourcing. So your call centers and all of those good stuff. Caribbean does that now. Based upon the statistics, there are about 215 business process outsourcing companies in the Caribbean now, doing call centers, doing back office support for global companies. I know in Jamaica you have Xerox, Sutherland, some of the bigger players in that space. Additionally, food and beverage. We love to eat in the Caribbean, and our food is loved by all. We have over 40 million tourists that goes to the islands every year, and they enjoy the flavor of our cuisine. But when they come back home, we don't engage them with the food no more until they decide maybe 2 years later or 5 years later, they go back on a vacation and they enjoy the food again. We want to, as it were, get Caribbean food on the shelf, not as ethnic products, but as mainstream products. Similarly, we have industries, again, like fashion and garment. In the room today, we have fashion Lenra Dimash, who does an amazing job with Dimash Couture. And there are many fashion designers who are doing great stuff. And then we have infrastructure and real estate. And this year, we wanted to really focus not on the Caribbean as a region, but we wanted to focus on the Caribbean as a people. And we want to take it from the place where you're pushing back stuff to the Caribbean. You're pushing back your remittances to the Caribbean. You're pushing back your intellectual capital to the Caribbean, your investment to the Caribbean. What we wanted to do was to get the Caribbean people engaged wherever they were to, as it were, strengthen economic we have political power in a lot of respect, but we don't have a whole lot of economic power. And so we wanted to strengthen that and to drive the conversation about what that strengthening process actually looks like. And so the Go Caribbean Expo this year is really focused on education, diaspora engagement, and really driving the conversation as to the how, the where, the what, the why, and ultimately in our discussions over the next day, the who can I connect with? Who can I network with? Who can I, as it were, drive my business to the next level with? Who can I partner with? And I think you look on a number of other communities, partnerships become a big part of how they sustain and maintain their economic power. And we are inclusive. This is the Caribbean to the world. It's not the Caribbean to the Caribbean, and it's not the Caribbean to the Caribbean community here in New York or down there in DC. It's the Caribbean to the world.
I'm responsible for our supply development program. We will have a table inside. We look for potential suppliers, that could work with BNY Mellon or suppliers. I always encourage you to work with each other and come to us with a better package of services. So I look forward to meeting you at our table tomorrow.
On behalf of Mayor de Blasio and my Commissioner Marco Carrion, bring a word of greetings. And actually I have a letter. So instead of me making up a speech, I'll just read the letter and share with you. Dear friends, it's a great pleasure to welcome everyone to Go Caribbean International Business and Investment Expo. New York is one of the is one of the most global cities in the world. So it's no surprise that we are also the hub for entrepreneurship, commerce, and innovation. Our international business community is critical to the success of the 5 boroughs, and thanks to the efforts like that of Anchor Strategies Group and its Go Caribbean Expo, the economic ties between the Caribbean region and the United States have remained strong. With a variety of panel discussions, workshops, and networking forums, Go Caribbean will bring together leaders across industries to support the growth of the Caribbean-owned businesses in our city and far beyond. I applaud the organization's mission to create better opportunities and look forward to working together to build a strong, thriving economy for our global community. On behalf of the City of New York, please accept my best wishes for a successful and informative Expo. Sincerely, Bill de Blasio, Mayor of New York City.
Again, my name is Etta Jackson, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Institute for Conscious Global Change, which is a nonprofit organization here in New York. And we're not a religious organization. We just want to see conscious movement take place to benefit people around the world. I'm from Jamaica originally, and I came from a political family in Jamaica. So I was brought up to think about the conditions under which people live and to feel that we have a responsibility and obligation to help those who are in need. And being from Jamaica, you know, we're from the Commonwealth, so you get to have a sense globally of what's going on around the world. And for me, I always kept abreast of what's going on at the UN and, you know, around the world. And I kept trying to see where there was a plan to take people who lived in poverty around the world from where they were to where I think we all feel they needed to be. And because I didn't see any movement in that direction, I decided about 9 years ago to sit at the computer and to concretize my idea of what I think we should do. And I came up with what is called the Millennium Earth Project, which you'll hear more about from Greg. And so I thought if we could identify what the problems are in any given community and begin to present a visual solution to those problems, I thought, you know, we could at least begin to engage governments and communities to begin to wrap their heads around what would my community look like if I could sit down with the government and other stakeholders and begin to plan out, map, get the data around all the problems, map, plan, and design the community as we would like to see it for ourselves. And I realized that this technology, geographic information systems technology, existed, which allows us to actually do that. And so I wrote my proposal and formed the organization, the Institute for Conscious Global Change, and then decided that I would partner with the United Nations because I realized that this was such a huge undertaking that there was no way that an organization like ours could do it alone. So I applied for consultative status, which is accreditation from the UN, and we were granted consultative status. So we now partner with the UN in the sense that they get to sit at the table and share our ideas and thoughts for how we can change the world, and we're having a great impact.
I'm going to first start out with GIS, or Geographic Information Systems. So GIS is basically a computer-based program where you can input, visualize, analyze, and interpret data through a geographic lens. So basically you can begin to identify and describe any point on Earth with as much data as you can put in. As you can see from the graphic on the right, it does this through a series of overlays of maps, 2D line drawings, and graphics that begin to create a final product with all the inherent data. This also allows stakeholders to take a holistic view of everything that's going on in the area and not just look at one aspect. Next, I'm going to talk about geodesign quickly. Geodesign is more of a technique where GIS is a program that is used within. As you can see from the graphic here, it brings together 4 of the main branches that we're trying to work with. Information technologies, which would be GIS, design professionals like architects, urban planners, and landscape designers, the people of the place, including local governments and citizens, and then geographic sciences such as hydrology. Now, all of this can bring the project from conceptualization through completion all in one place. So for our proof of concept, we worked with St. Raphael, Haiti. Haiti presents an interesting challenge because it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, is the only member of the African Union outside of Africa, and much of the country is still repairing from the 2010 earthquake. St. Raphael in particular, we actually had contact with the mayor, and we had some geospatial information from the Haitian government as it was available through one of their agencies. So also just a little background on St. Raphael. There is a there is a lack of skills due to undereducation and a high unemployment rate. Employment in St. Raphael is only at 8%. This leads to continued impoverishment, as well as Haiti and St. Raphael being almost completely dependent on the outside world.
When we think about diaspora engagement, I want to preface my remarks by saying I come at this conversation from 30 years actually working as a development expert at the Inter-American Development Bank. In the days before ministers knew that diasporas were important, I would sort of had side events. And in fact, the first Caribbean Economic Conference that we had in 1994, I piggybacked it on what was then the Caribbean Group for Cooperation and Economic Development that the World Bank had. And because I knew the ministers of finance that were coming up, I kind of shanghaied them over to come over to my little thing. And so they would talk at the World Bank and then come over and meet with diaspora and local Washingtonians back in 1994, when as a young Turk, I was probably as old as Kevin is now, trying to get the conversation started. And the idea was to move us from being complainants at parties about what was wrong and use our capital that we had gotten here as engineers, architects, economists, lawyers, doctors, whatever, to reinvest. And the concept then for me is moving us from what I call charity giving to development investment. So if we look at what it means to construct a society, you not only need access to finance, everybody knows that we need financial capital, but we need intellectual capital, right? We need relationship capital, and to some extent I would like to put in the hat what I'm calling cultural capital. By cultural capital, I'm talking about that sort of netherworld of the spaces that make things work. It's not quite politics, it's not quite law, but there's the ways in which we are, the ways of being, that is an attachment to the relationship that sometimes caused us to go awry. That said, I think having spoken at Jamaica Stock Exchange and many conferences in Jamaica, I think many governments in the region are now aware that the diaspora is not just a source of remittance capital. Indeed, remittances are the least of the problem, because remittances are not creating jobs. What remittances are doing, frankly speaking, I'm trying to get all my friends to stop doing it, is creating a beggar-me-barrel mentality, which is not doing us any good. And certainly as you get old and can't afford to send home the brand name sneakers and the designer jacket, they are going to come at you when you come home and then probably take it by force. So the first thing individuals must do is stop sending home things for free. By that I mean, if you're sending home things to cousins, etc., as long as they're able-bodied, they need to either be in school or in some micro-enterprise or something that they don't become a burden on you in your old age. Let them understand that they have 5 years to get their act together, because when you're 55, money is going to what? Dry up, fall short, and you have to look somewhere else for it. So that's the first thing you have to start doing. So that's to say the individual unorganized diaspora. As organized diaspora, we tend to be organized around alumni associations, hometown associations, church organizations, And we have very much been involved in like, well, the good feel good stuff. So we do scholarships, or we might build a library and we name it after our grandmother, or we might do, I don't know, build a hospital wing or send home a machine, and the government start angry because you send home this heart machine that don't work and nobody can fix it, nobody know how to fix it, nobody can afford the spare parts, or old hospital bed that they throw out of, hospital here and we send it home and nobody want to clear it. And so there's this big disconnect between what we think we want to send and what they want to get.
It's very interesting to see how things work. And politicians are always going to be around. Administration is always going to be around. When the politician who leaves office and puts the laws in place, someone has to follow them. And so we get caught up into a vicious cycle where we expect things to change. And the problem is that they probably will change, but that they will take a long time before it gets done. We've had situations right here in New York City where we have had local law 129, which was a law designed to help minorities to get some business from the city of New York, and I believe that it was 20% set aside. And for years, everyone was asking and having seminars such as these, and the government was telling everybody how to do it, to get it, but nobody got it. All right? And so you go for years and years, and when you ask, no one knew the answer to how many of the 20%, how much of the 20% was achieved. And so people would say, I don't know. They had no idea. So what you saw was that it was really about 1%. And lately it's risen a lot. But again, we don't know sometimes how to deal with what's left behind. And it takes us longer to catch up and then proceed from there. So politicians are essential, but we have to work with them. We have to look for ways that we can get around what's happening. It's one of those situations, you become a public relations guy, and then afterwards, when you do it, the lobbyists come and they take it away from you all over again. So what we want to achieve in something like this is, again, to set our sights on a goal that would be achievable, and to go forward in such a way that your passion kind of overrides everything else that's put in your way. And you have to persevere. So we all need to get ahead. And I think that we all do have the capacity to reach certain levels that will make our life comfortable. We're not all going to be millionaires, but we all want to be one. And some that become millionaires, they want to be a billionaire. That's fine too. So as we go along and we hear all of this information that is disseminated, I think that we should be able to come out of this wonderful Co-Caribbean conference and kind of start the week, next week, with our hands and our feet on the ground, running like hell to try to achieve some of the things that have been put here. So I thank very much Kevin and his dynamic team that has put all this together. I really appreciate your thinking of the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I hope that many of you will go to Puerto Rico. We have an economic development conference in Puerto Rico. We have been able to align ourselves, and we are doing in conjunction with the Somos El Futuro conference, which is a legislative conference, and here we go again, man. So we have all these politicians going over there. Well, we got to work them over. That's what we're going to get them over there for. We'll get them on the pool, we'll get them at the beach, and we'll work them over. And, like they used to say when I used to play basketball, if we don't beat them in the first quarter, we'll beat them in the second, or we'll beat them in the third, and if whatever happens, we'll beat them after the game. So these are the things that we have to do.